Hey guys, welcome to this weekend's video. So I told you at some point we would do a part 2 of the crazy but true snake facts, and this is going to be that video. So stay tuned. We've got some different snakes, some different facts, and we'll go through and share it. Don't forget to always check the descriptions. Things like links to the merchandise are down there, links to USARK, and any pertinent information you might need for the videos. All right, thank you guys very much. Don't forget to stay tuned. All right, for our first crazy snake fact, I've got my lovely spotted python female, Cape York locality here. She hasn't been on in a little while, so I figured I would grab her out. She's pretty sizable Cape York. She's pushing 5 feet. I actually might get a string out here and measure her while I'm here. So if I do, I'll put something to pop up in the video and let you know how big she is exactly. So for the first fact, something that's debated, and actually in researching the exact parameters of this, I found a lot of different information. So the first fact we're going to talk about is snakes' ears. So snakes have internal ears, and because of that, a lot of people think that means that they can't hear. What it does mean is that they hear differently than we do. Obviously, we know that snakes rely a lot on vibration and use other things via their Jacobson's organ and everything else that's a little bit different, but they can actually hear our voices. And that is because, you know, and it depends on the person. Men tend to have lower hertz, women a little bit higher, and then children even higher still. These guys tend to hear better in the lower register. So men's voices are something that they can typically hear better, but they can hear, you know, human voices in general. And so you see people talk about the fact that, oh, you know, their snakes know when they get home and things like that, and people call them crazy, but really they're not. These guys are able to recognize our voices, and there is some thought that they can differentiate between different people's voices and recognize someone they know versus someone they don't. We haven't done enough research on this to know exactly what they're capable of, but the fact that sometimes your animals do come out of their hiding places when they hear you, you're not crazy. That is something that can happen. Now, where people get crazy with it is they try to put it with some kind of love or emotional thing that's complex beyond what these guys are capable of, but it still doesn't mean that they can't recognize who you are, and still doesn't mean that they may not seek out interaction with you. It's just a little bit different than what most people think. And so where I found the difference is that, you know, I found different hertz levels for people, for snakes, what they can hear. I found anywhere from about the low of 80 to the high of 1,000 is what snake species register. There was some information that said upwards of 2,000, some only said about 600. So as I said, there was a lot of different things, but most human voices are going to be somewhere between about 125 and 300. As I said, with, you know, men typically being lower and then children being the highest. But yeah, so it's very interesting. So we do fall within the register of what they can hear. So you're not as crazy as you think. Let's get to the next fact. For our next fact, I've enlisted the help of the albino boa. And so she'll be out here for this one, which is on spitting cobras. I wanted to mix it up, get some venomous, non-venomous, different stuff for everybody. So, you know, everybody in the audience has something that they can learn. So for the spitting cobras, we're going to talk about accuracy and how good they are and what they do in order to be that accurate. So they've done some tests with them, and within about 2 feet, they are just about 100% accurate. And obviously with spitting cobras, they're going for your eyes. And a lot of people think that they're watching your eyes and that they're spitting at your eyes and they're just that accurate, but that's not entirely true. So what they actually do is they actually take a look at your movements and they try to track where they think your eyes are going to be. So they're not shooting to hit your eyes, they're shooting to hit where they think you're gonna move. So if they think you're gonna go, you know, right or left, they're going to track your movements and then spit into the spot they think that you're going to move to when you see them spit. So they're trying to think ahead and get into your head on what you're going to do. And they say that's why they're so deadly accurate, because they're able to figure out your patterns very quickly on what they think you're going to do and adjust accordingly. So one of the other things that they do in order to increase their accuracy is they're actually rapidly contracting the muscles in their head and neck in order to form complex patterns that over time they have developed to maximize the performance of their venom and to hit that target, which is your eyes. So they have a set of contractions that they do that's going to basically rapid fire that venom into a certain area around where you're centralized in order to maximize the results and have the best chance of hitting home. And different spitting cobra venoms obviously are more toxic than others as far as the damage it can do to you. Some can be temporary, some can be permanent. So if you are working with those animals, it's always advised to wear eye protection and be very careful. They can spit distances, depending on the species, of 6 feet, 8 feet or more. So you really have to be on your guard with those animals. I've heard stories in the past of ones that were in cages or rack systems or whatever it was, where there was just a little gap and they were able, as people were walking by, to spit through that gap and hit people right in the eyes. Fortunately, those people were wearing eye protection, but had they not been, you know, you don't think about it when the animal's in its enclosure and you're not even paying attention to it, how dangerous they can still be. So that is something to be aware of and something that I found really cool about those animals. And she just wants to climb anywhere and everywhere. So we'll get to the next facts. All right, got one of my T-positive girls out here for you. Haven't shown her off in a little bit. She was on a video maybe a month or two ago, but she's doing fantastic. Looks like she's headed into a shed cycle soon. Still looking wonderful though. And for this section, I thought we'd do something a little different. Instead of just one fact and focusing on it, I thought maybe we'd do some kind of rapid facts and just list a few things about snakes that you might not know that I thought were interesting. I got a list written down over here, so I'm looking down at it just so I don't forget anything. So one of the first things that I saw is that there are around 3,600 different species of snakes, which is quite a lot, more than I realized were out there. Of those, they say about 725 are venomous. Now, I've read varying degrees on numbers of how many of those venomous snakes are considered deadly or have the potential to kill a human being. And it said somewhere around 200 to 250 of those species are capable of doing that. So there's a lot more venomous species out there that are not necessarily as dangerous. One thing that I've always known that I thought is interesting that a lot of people don't seem to know is that snakes have indeterminate growth. And what indeterminate growth means is that as long as this animal lives, it continues to grow. It never stops. So unlike us, where we hit a point where we stop growing, they don't. But what does happen is it slows way down after a certain age. Typically with most snakes, you know, depending on the species, around 3 to 5, 6 years old is where they're going to do the bulk of their growing. And then it really slows from there. And as they get older, it slows way down to almost nothing. But they still are always growing, which is why they continue to shed their skin. Another cool fact, rattlesnakes, when they're rattling their tail, they can actually rattle them 50 times per second, and they can maintain that up to 3 hours. That's a lot of movement. Somebody can do the math on that. That's a pretty crazy fact right there. I'm gonna have to go get this bow in a second. Countries in the world that do not have any snakes: Iceland, Greenland, Ireland, and New Zealand. No snakes in those countries. So those are countries that none of us would like to live in, because where's the fun in that if you can't go herping? So I think that's all we're going to list for this one. I thought those were just some cool things to talk about and do a little bit of more rapid fire. As always, make sure you hit the comments. Tell me things that maybe you learned, things that you already knew. Tell me how pretty she is, how pretty the other girls were that were in this video. Don't forget to hit like. Don't forget to share. It helps the channel immensely. You guys have been doing a fantastic job lately because I've really needed the help. So those comments, those likes, sharing, watching the videos, all helps. So thank you guys so much, and we will see you middle of the week.